Can a relationship work long term with a relatively big difference in sex drives? How to not feel jealous / resentful of friends in relationships when you're single? How to forgive an ex?
Yeah, this is what happens when you're filming with your mama. There is water, there are snacks. Hey.
Hi. Today I'm joined with my mom. We have made a video together on the channel before. How long ago was that?
That was probably half a year ago?
Yeah, half a year ago. Since I get so many DMs from you guys on Instagram asking for advice, and a lot of which are about relationships and boys and love and girls, I thought maybe I'll bring on a professional. So I put on my Instagram just to ask me your relationship love questions, and I'd get my mom to answer them for you. You guys sent in a lot of questions. We have like over 500 questions.
Yeah, but really great questions.
Yeah, really great questions.
Wow.
We also wanted to just do a little disclaimer that, you know, we don't get the full story and your full situation from a little message, and we are here to give you advice and love the best way we can, but we don't claim to know everything. We could make a mistake, so just
take it with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of
whatever
salt.
really suits you out of what's spoken, and chuck the rest.
Yeah, exactly. On our last video that we did, I got so much comments being like, stop talking over your mom, let your mother speak. Like, I'm gonna actually try to notice that.
Mother-daughter dynamic.
I just get so passionate and I agree with everything you say, so I like want to add stuff in, but watching back the video.
It's great. I think you're adding really good points.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How to best navigate an intimate non-monogamous relationship?
Okay, non-monogamy. That's again a big one. I mean, there are many different kind of non-monogamous relationships, different agreements. I guess the first question for a non-monogamous couple is to ask itself why. Why are we in a non-monogamous relationship? There are different reasons. If someone's in a non-monogamous relationship that just to please the other partner, that's a red flag. It really needs to be a mutual understanding about how we want to live and this kind of lifestyle. It's a legitimate lifestyle, but it does require a lot of conversation, and it does really push you into self-development in the sense of really getting honest, brutally honest, and it really challenges our attachment issues. For some people, just even the thought of a non-monogamous relationship, it doesn't seem pleasurable at all. It seems
I'm a
really,
bit like that.
Yeah, it seems like not fun at all. So it firstly really has to be something that you're pulled to do, and that it's really associated with something positive, and that it's not something that's projected on you.
Yeah.
Does that answer?
I think that was such a good answer.
Okay,
honestly.
yeah, I think it's a big.
Truly, I was like, wow, true.
Yeah, it's a big conversation. It's an ongoing conversation, very important to have.
How can you help your partner understand and respect your boundaries and vice versa?
I think where the tricky part is many times for people is when we try to express our needs through criticizing the other person. It's as if
the lights on in the crowd.
It's as if like what you are doing or what you need is not okay. And I think if the conversation starts being about this is just how I feel, and how I feel is there are many reasons for why I'm feeling and what I'm needing, and if that is actually okay and validated, and we're actually having a conversation around how do we create safety for the person that needs more space and for the person that actually needs more connection.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing conversation. If we can avoid criticism, come back to what we're feeling and what we need in a constructive way.
Yeah. What I found really amazing as a person that's always been quite like a people pleaser was that boundaries always made me, like I thought of like, you know, saying no more often or boundaries, and I was like, no, people won't like me, or you know, I'll upset people. But it's funny how as soon as you actually have those boundaries in place, how much more respect, you know, there's sometimes a transition period where people like, wait, now you're saying no, like, but then if you really hold to your boundaries and they're coming from a place of like pure and good intentions and like, you know, trying to be good for yourself and therefore for other people, then people just adjust to your boundaries and they just see it as the way it is.
It's like if I'm holding my boundaries, it's not like I'm abandoning you.
No.
It's like I'm actually not abandoning myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes it does take a bit of time just to really get that reassurance that you're not dropping me if you're taking care of yourself. You're actually holding me, and it actually allows me to also do what I need for myself.
How to have balance and not allow your partner to dominate your life.
Yeah, so dominate your life, I'm guessing it's not about, you know, an overpowering violence or that kind of domination. I think my understanding, it's more of a psychological relationship where I'm allowing myself to get lost in you and lose myself within you, and then you become so big in my world that I feel dominated by your presence.
Yeah.
And then really the only way I can actually connect to myself is actually move away from you, because I feel so overwhelmed. Come back to yourself, you know, what is it that you can change in your world, in your behavior, in your choices that can actually create more space for yourself, what it is that you need. And sometimes it is time away from your partner, sometimes it's also asking your partner to give you some more space. And many times we start relationships and there's an initial agreement in the honeymoon stage, you know, where we're so eager to just, you know, default into that place of give, and no, and shine my light on you. And then the relationship keeps on going, and all of a sudden these things that we were so attracted to kind of backfire on us. Especially, I think, for women, there is a tendency to do other people's emotional work for them. Yeah. So you're actually carrying them, not only because you're thinking about them and how much you love them, you're actually processing their emotions. And there is, you know, and just becoming aware of that and actually giving yourself that instruction to put that down.
Yeah.
Exactly, just to put that down.
Yeah.
So many times it's not the others that's dominating us, it's actually us that's not knowing
100%.
how to be in our own business, and just to allow the other person to
just do
to have their thing.
Completely. What to do when you're unable to hold space for your partner when they are struggling?
Wow. Firstly, compassion for yourself. Because if you're asking that question, it means that you're actually, in a way, need someone to hold space for you too.
Yeah.
Because when they're struggling, you're struggling. And if the struggle can become too overwhelming, you might use your own defense mechanism, either numbing it or, you know, just in order not to get flooded. So I'd say compassion for self, and really asking yourself the question, how can I support myself so much that I'll have an overflow of support towards the other person?
Yeah. Put
the mask on yourself first, and then you'll be able to be generous towards the other person, and obviously know your boundaries and limitations as well. I think the biggest thing that can happen to us in these situations is that we feel guilty that we're not giving enough, and you know, guilt should never be confused with love. You know, if you're feeling guilty, that's not love. You know, that's actually you needing some compassion for yourself, you needing to support yourself so you can be your best self.
How to ask for things from your partner / not feel guilty expressing
expressing your needs.
Expressing your emotional needs.
Expressing your emotional needs. We all have needs. They're physical needs, they're emotional needs. And we do many times carry a lot of shame around having these needs. Yeah. Going back to something I might have said earlier, around avoiding criticism. Many times when we're find it really challenging to be vulnerable about what it is that we need, we tend to project this criticism towards the other person around what they're doing or who they are for not meeting our needs. So firstly, wrong way, go back. And I guess, you know, getting really, really clear on what it is that we're feeling, what it is that's going on, and articulating the need in a positive way. It would be very helpful for me if when I share something emotional with you, you would just give me a hug, rather than whenever I share with you, you always, play it down, or you always have something to say, or you're always trying to fix it. So
it's like, what do you want?
What is it that you want?
Wrong?
Yeah. So imagining in an ideal world, ideal scenario, how would that scenario look like?
Yeah.
And then saying that would feel really great for me. That would really help me at that moment. So you're helping the other person help you. Yeah. Rather than just asking for something that sometimes the other person doesn't know how to translate into action. Yeah. Because they're not doing something against you, they're just being them.
How to keep a long distance relationship alive, and how to deal with struggles and one-time cheating.
I think one-time cheating is a big one, and betrayal of trust, that's many times an integral part of relationships. Yeah. In different ways and different levels. I guess when we do experience a betrayal of trust, not to underestimate it, not to try and play it down or put it under a rug. I do recommend accessing therapy if that's possible for you. But even if not, there has to be an understanding around the fact that betrayal of trust is experienced as trauma. It's a loss of connection. It's an attachment wound. It's a moment where I thought reality was one way, and all of a sudden I realized that reality was something completely different. It creates an emotional attachment wound for a couple that even if you keep on going and you just try to ignore that it ever happened, if it's not addressed and really resolved on a deep level and understood as a trauma, it can haunt a couple. And I can see couples 20 and even 40 years down the track still talking about what happened then. And resolving it, what it really means is that firstly, the participating partner in the betrayal of trust takes full responsibility for the choice they made, for the choice that was actually a selfish choice. And
I'm getting emotional.
It is so hard to go through. It's one of the most heartbreaking experiences, because we are so attached, because we're so connected. And then really understanding that it is a trauma, and in that regard, that means that it is something that's not gonna just disappear. So walking into the future, really being empathetic about the fact that different triggers can bring up that wound, and when these triggers come, they're gonna feel just as real as at that moment when it happens. The trauma memory doesn't separate between what happened in the past and the here and now. So when that happens, the partner that was the hurt partner has to let the participating partner, even if it's 5 years down the track, I've just been triggered. The participating partner has to actually say, it makes sense that you would feel that way. That was then, this is now. I am sorry that you're feeling that. I am here now. What do you need? Just that. It's a continual repair of the betrayal of trust. When a couple can step into that, then you can actually move to the next stage where you really get a deeper meaning about how much you grew from that experience and how much that experience actually could deepen your connection. So from the worst things, the best can happen, but you do need to go through the stages.
How do you know for certain you are in the right place personally to meet someone? I guess ready to meet a new partner?
I think that the thing is a certainty. I don't think there is such a thing.
Does anyone ever have certainty?
I don't think you do. I don't think you can really have certainty. I think you can feel that you can connect to that longing, have that desire to bring someone into my life. But you can't really know for certain, and even when you meet a person, you can't necessarily immediately know that that's right. It's really about taking it one step at a time and being okay with the uncertainty.
Yeah,
just completely. Continuously tracking what you're feeling. Everything that's coming up is valuable for you to look at.
How to open up to people and be less anxious during a conversation.
Sometimes it's about just really connecting to the value of what you have to say, and that gives you the confidence. So if you're really landing in that and understanding why it's actually valuable, that can give you the motivation to overcome the anxiety. But the other side of that is also many times not to fight the anxiety. The more you resist, the more it persists.
Yeah, I think a lot of times as well, like people don't open up or become vulnerable because they feel like they'll lose control. Like for instance, when I open up about something, a lot of times tears will be involved. True. So a lot of times I will stop myself from saying how I feel or what I want because I'm like, I don't want to start crying right now. But I think it's also letting that control go and being like, you know what, maybe I will cry, maybe I will choke up on my words, maybe I will start shaking or something. Vulnerability is the biggest measurement of courage. So it's like actually opening up is just being brave, and it's being brave is not like an easy thing. It's just like that choice you have to make of like, I'm just gonna do it and it might hurt, but fuck it. Yes. I might cry. I might mess up.
I might not look perfect at that moment. I might not be in control.
I might not be in control.
Exactly.
But I'm choosing to let someone
see me exactly where I'm at.
How to overcome body image issues that impact enjoyment of intimate moments with a partner.
I think many of us walk around with this feeling like that there is a camera over us that's constantly, we see ourselves from the outside and we judge ourselves from the outside. And I think especially in intimacy, the place to go to is in the experience, actually tracking what I'm feeling rather than how it looks. So moving from performance into experience. Take good care of yourself. If you need the light dimmer, if you need to have, sometimes some people feel more comfortable when there's actually body oil on them, they feel more sensual. Just allowing the sensuality to come from the inside, tracking your body from the inside rather than observing it from the outside, and then you get the confidence that ultimately is extremely sexy. And also really making sure that you're in a safe environment.
The person might not be able to
match you,
to match and hold the space and the safety that you actually need
in order to go into intimacy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
and
intimacy is vulnerable.
Yeah. I think that's that's a really good point, because I think so many people feel so shit about not being confident enough or something, but it's like a lot of times it also like the other person is like just not able to,
because we really create each other. We actually we give each other the confidence and we take the confidence away. We have that power.
How to not feel jealous / resentful of friends in relationships when you're single.
Oh, sweetheart. Firstly, it's so natural. Exactly. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. And sometimes when we're jealous, it's exactly the pointer towards our potential, because we see something in the other person or the other couple that we know we actually have in ourselves. So I'll reassure you, you're not going to be
single
forever. And so be kind and compassionate towards yourself. You're experiencing jealousy, which is natural, but actually the practice for you to do is really pray for that couple's happiness, trusting that your person will show up in your life. And that what you're feeling is not wanting them not to have it, but actually for you to find yours. And that's a tender place. So
I think it's so much easier to step into the place of like hate and
I hate them for having what I don't have.
And it's so much more painful in a way to admit that that's actually something you might want or like crave.
But, and admitting is the step number one. And step number two, like with any challenging emotion, is actually being able to be in the fire of that, you know, in the intensity of that, the intensity of the longing, the intensity of the, you know, the hollow place in you, that feeling that it's not whole or it's not full. And that's a practice for life. You know, we can't go through life not experiencing that kind of intensity. So really, how can you nurture yourself the best with feeling that? How can you express it through art, through dance, through poetry, through journaling, you know, and really connect to your yearning. You know, the biggest and greatest poets, you know, it's about the love, it's about the yearning. So this is your opportunity to tap into that wisdom.
Like, there's a lot of amazing things about being single as well. You know?
Absolutely.
And I think it's like when you want a relationship, you sometimes forget what you have, but it's also nice to appreciate, like, I'm going to meet that person one day. You will. There's no doubt about it. You'll meet your person. So it's like, whilst that person isn't with you, just enjoy that time. Because once you've met them,
it's like now's the time that you have you for you.
Exactly.
And sometimes, you know, that doesn't come back.
How to not fall into anxiety if someone doesn't show their emotions as much as me. I definitely have experienced this as a very emotional person. If I've been with someone that's like more reserved or less expressive, sometimes I'll go into a bit of a freak out of like, what do you feel? Tell me, show me, tell me.
Exactly.
What's going on?
Exactly. So I guess firstly you need to ask yourself, was I oversharing? Did I put myself, you know, because I think any kind of relationship is a bit like a poker game. I take one layer off, you take one layer off, I take one layer off, you take one layer off. You know, it is a conversation. If it's only one-sided, you might feel very exposed and vulnerable. That's one option. The other option is that the other person is actually, you know, not knowing how to express their emotions. And then it's not about them doing something wrong to you. It's more about you being able to self-soothe and just regulate your own anxiety that's showing up, and really tracking that. And that's, you know, it is a good idea to do some inner work around this. You know, what is showing up for me, and what's my earliest memory that I have had that experience, that I'm not getting that feedback from the outside. And it is natural for us to need recognition and to need, you know, the emotional conversation to be two sides. And so it is confronting not to get anything back. But sometimes our partners also speak different languages than us, and we really need to let go of the idea that everybody needs to speak the same language. So we need to really track, you know, if we're not feeling safe because it's something that's happening in us, or is it really something that the other person needs to improve on. And sometimes it's a combination of both.
So good, aren't you?
I hope so.
All the answers. How to forgive an ex.
Well, forgiveness is a big one, and I believe that full forgiveness is really an act of grace. You know, we can't decide to forgive someone. All we can decide to do is to be willing to forgive. And that's your mantra. You know, I'm willing to forgive, and then forgiveness might happen. All of a sudden you might kind of look behind your shoulder and you realize, I don't have those same strong feelings that I had. It transformed. I'm in a place of inner peace. Because I think forgiveness is not something that we give to someone about after their wrongdoings or something. Forgiveness is really when we're in a place of inner peace, we know we have forgiven.
Being willing to forgive, not just for them but for yourself.
Freeing yourself.
Freeing yourself, like that is the biggest thing of like wanting to forgive someone. It's like, I'm just willing to forgive so I can be free.
And you can't rush it.
You can't
rush it.
You can't. Can a relationship work long term with a relatively big difference in sex drives?
Many relationships have a big difference in sex drive. This requires a conversation. It requires a deep understanding around consent. And also about the importance of the two stances. So really validating both positions as being natural, normal, legitimate, And then how do we work with this as a couple? How do we honor both needs in a way that doesn't compromise ourselves? So it's an ongoing conversation, an important one, and one that most relationships have. This is not the rare, this is actually the majority.
The normal.
The normal,
completely. Yeah. Constructive ways to deal with having very opposing opinions to your partner on heavy topics.
Yeah, that's a big one. I guess, with heavy topics, it's really about understanding what's the meaning that position holds for our partner, and really being curious about the why. How did they come to that, and what does that mean to them? And many times it origins in a deeper experience or a belief system, and we can validate that. We can find the truth in that. It could make sense for us that would be their opinion, knowing what we know about who they are. And from that place we, I didn't think you'd share that kind of information.
Can you smell it?
I'm still smelling it. Oh my God. Are you like
keep going,
fading?
I'm stretching.
Are you stretching or fading?
I'm just stretching.
Okay.
How to build trust when you have trust issues?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's we had a question about trust and rebuilding trust and trust issues and trauma around trust. A lot of inner work, I would say. I'd say get support, because you will be triggered, and you will need to know how to self-regulate yourself, how to differentiate between what happened then and what's actually going now. And have it as an open conversation with your partner. Make sure that you're owning your emotions, and that there's room for them. There's room for them to be expressed. I'm being triggered, this is what's happening for me. Not to go into blaming and criticizing or shaming the other person. This is it, and just hold me.
So we actually got a lot of questions about marriage at a young age. So this person said, I would like to know what your mum thinks about getting married at a young age, 18 or so. And we had a lot of those. Yeah,
about marriage.
She has notes.
I wrote here, your brain is not fully developed until you're 25. So, look, I can say that because I actually got married when I was 18. And that marriage didn't hold for over 6 months. But my brain was not developed to make that decision. Saying that, every situation is for itself, and sometimes there are good reasons to get married. It is case to case. If you're not sure,
then don't do it. Yeah.
And if you're too sure, check for a second opinion. It's.
I think the thing with marriage as well, and like, look at Ginger, he's so cute.
There's like a little tiger.
Buddha. It could be that you've met your person, but unless you really want to, I don't think there needs to be any rush to get married at a young age. If you guys know you guys are together, then you know you're together and you will get married at some point. And it's like, it is nice to just like, it's like exactly what we said, like if you're not sure, then don't, like, I mean, not that I don't think it's like the same thing. It's like, when will you ever be 100% sure? You won't. But it's like,
look, like I met my husband, which we're married now for 30 years. I met him when I was 19, which is not far, but we didn't get married straight away.
And you only had me when you were like 27.
And I only had you when I was 27. And I am really grateful for slowing it down, even though I ended up being with the same person from when I was 19. But I think within that time, the relationship grew as I grew, and it changed as I changed.
You could have got married to this person, but they might not be the same person in 5 years, and it's like, that's why
they're definitely not going to be the same person in 5 years. And you want to have the option to easily choose if you want to transition into a new relationship with the same person, or
so relationships are always going to take work. It's just choosing. It's really being able to know. There is a lot more questions, but I think we're starting to get a bit tired.
We're starting to fade.
So let's say that if people
are feeling that this is useful for them.
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know how this is working for you.
Yeah, we can't know.
And because we're definitely having fun. At least I'm having fun.
Yeah.
And yeah. So let us know, and then we can do more.
We love you. Bye.
What?